Okay, welcome, folks. Tonight is October 25th. This is a public hearing for the City of Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals. Anybody wishing to address the board tonight, please do so only from the podium, and make sure that you sign your name and your address so I don't have to interrupt you while you're speaking. There are several matters on for tonight. We're going to take the first one, which is a continuance from a couple of different meetings, and it's ZB 2009-000060, Administrative Review. Georgie Lighties is the representative for the applicant at 1527 Middlesex Street. And that's a suburban mixed use, reduce the number of required parking spaces for martial arts school. And I'm recusing myself, so Vice Chairman Noon is going to take over at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, sir. Please go ahead, sir. To the Elias.
Good evening. For the record, George Ciolides, Jr., 133 Market Street, Lowell, and I'm here this evening with Master Naaman, who is the owner of the property here. I'm sure that you'll remember that this matter has been off and on before the board a number of times, and what we're trying to do tonight is accomplish two things. First of all, for the record, clarify what the variance granted February 22nd of this year resulted in a number of parking spaces required for this site. And secondly, also clarify that there was a variance and a special permit granted that result in the requirement for 42 spaces for the site. Secondly, I had previously filed and requested, the decision itself asked for a review after 6 months. We came in sooner than that because the current tenant, who is the person who's principally affected by the vote February 22nd, was having great difficulty operating her restaurant and had asked if we could do a sooner review to help her out. At that time, however, we didn't have a plan of the land showing the parking spaces and the shared parking outline, nor did we have all of the agreement for additional spaces, which the folks had gotten. So that was continued to the last meeting, and at that point, another representative showed up for Master On and didn't have all of the requisite materials at that time. What I have presented to you this evening, in the booklet, if I may, I'll go through this because I think it'll help you to understand the gist of where we're going here. The first 4 pages, of course, are the standard document which I like to submit to the board that gives them my view of the case and some suggestions as to what the findings might be and some suggestions as a decision. That's, as you all know, included in the rules and regulations of the zoning board. After the first blue section, the next item that's in there is a copy of the February 22nd decision, as well as the last page to that. I understand that that Mr. Clausen has reviewed this matter and given you a memo about what is required by way of parking. Aaron reviewed, I believe, every one of the meetings that took place with reference to this subject matter, as did I, and based on that review, the difficulty that we encountered with the building department was it was not clear in that vote that as a result of the variance and the special permit granted, that the number of spaces available or required for that site would be 42. Aaron has produced that chart now, and that's in the last page of section 2 of that which I've given to you, and that shows that after the vote in February, the requirement was for 42 spaces. The next section is a new plan, and I regret that, unfortunately, This just came completed today. It's a good news, bad news. The good news is that the plan, I'm told that at the last meeting, the person presenting the material indicated that there would be spaces that they would get from Dunkin' Donuts to the rear. When that was called to my attention, I called to Master On's attention the fact that doing something like that would, and Aaron had already pointed this out to the people too, doing something like that would require a whole new procedure, a whole new planning board, a whole new conservation commission, et cetera, et cetera. And it made no sense. Maybe down the road, as things develop either between Dunkin' Donuts and my client, something like that might happen. But in lieu of doing that, we went back to the basic plan that was approved previously for the 42 spaces, only Master On was able to talk to an across-the-street neighbor. And if you look at the last 2 pages there, you'll see there's a letter from Mr. Palmer, who owns the property directly across the street, indicating that he will make 20 spaces available if and when there's ever any overflow requirements. You'll note from the new plan, the last plan showed, the not as-built plan showed 63 parking spaces available. It turns out that when they were built on site, 2 of the spaces to the very rear were not legal spaces and not available. 1 space adjacent to the building in the front is now used for a dumpster, and a 4th space was lost, providing some extra space for handicap. So, in fact, the new plan shows, as built, 59 spaces available on site. That plan, as I said, it came late, and it came in an 8.5 by 11 version, which is in that second last section. What I tried to do to help the board was I blew up into 3 sections that particular thing, so that you could get a better idea of what the plan was showing by way of parking requirements. And as you can see from that, parking availability, as I said, that's where we discovered the 59 spaces as opposed to 63. So hopefully tonight I'm asking you to just confirm, as I believe Mr. Clausen will confirm to you as well, that the requirement for this site is 42 spaces. Secondly, the plan we're showing has 59 spaces. That means that we have 17 spaces more than we're required to have under the zoning code. In addition to that, as I said, we have the 20 extra spaces available for an overflow if necessary. The other item that I'd like to address, and it's the real reason why I filed the papers this summer, and I made reference a couple of minutes ago, was to the fact that the lady with the restaurant has a serious problem because she's only, based on a condition that this board set, able to have 8 people seated in her restaurant. That condition was placed on there based on the representations made by another representatives of the owners, and it was, I'll say, a mistaken representation. The people who own the place have told me they never told him that they would only need 8 spaces, and the gentleman told me that all they would require would be 8 seats, and based on that fact, that at that meeting, I in fact repeated what he said, which was that there was only a need for 8 seats. That's not the case. She's trying to run a legitimate, regular restaurant in there, like any other restaurant in the city of Lowell. The record shows that there's more than enough parking spaces available. And clearly, if she can't operate without that condition, I don't believe she can stay in business. That's not her fault. That's something that was brought here other than, that was something that was imposed here on her landlord, not on herself. And I think turns out to be a situation quite unfair to her and unworkable. She's probably, after making a very large investment, going to lose her business if she can't operate with more than 8 chairs in the place. So I'll be glad to answer any questions the board has. Hopefully I've spelled out to you sufficiently what the facts are with regard to the parking spaces and see where we go from there.
Thank you, Attorney Elias. Before I turn to the audience, maybe I ought to turn to the fellow board member if they have any question. But before I do that, I want to let you know that we only have 4 board, and you need all 4 vote, and you know that.
I'm aware of that.
All right. If you want to proceed with 4 vote, or?
We'll proceed with, yes.
Thank you,
with this
Council.
membership.
Mr. Bailey, sir, any question for Attorney Elias?
Sorry. Through you to Mr. Elides. Mr. Elides, on the handout you provided on the history section, the 3rd paragraph, looks like it's the last sentence. You have that whenever school functions are anticipated to possibly bring in more than 35 spaces allocated. Where do you reference 35 from?
The meeting itself and the decision at that time, it was spoken that there would probably be nothing more than 35 spaces needed for that. And so the counter to that was, well, if you only need 35, if you ever get to more than 35 being used for the martial arts, you will provide those spaces. And that was also, I should point out, before the variance reducing the number of spaces required for the building. I guess I should clarify that. Initially, the building, I don't know if you recall, and I tried to cover that in here, initially that building was being scaled for parking purposes, both as to the size of the facility that he was using for his recreational use and for a retail store. He gave up the retail store, and therefore that portion of the building is not being used for that. He gave up a good portion of the rest of the building, and the evidence showed at the time that instead of a 10,000 square foot section of building being used, only 4,500 square feet. So I think that the 35 number comes from that 4,500 square feet of space being used for the martial arts studio.
Okay, so with that said, so I guess through you and Aaron, I just want to make sure. So the chart that was made available to us a couple of different times now, is the total spaces required, Aaron, 42 based on the special permit and variance as it sits right now?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and does that mean 22 and a half is set up for the martial arts only?
Correct, based on the parking requirements of the zoning
So
code.
the 35 shouldn't be, in other words, the 35 isn't the martial arts, it's 22 and a half, correct?
Right. That's the allocation under the new parking, correct?
Right. So your requirement of 35 was higher than what you actually need now, is what,
Correct.
is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Okay, so that, so that means, based on the latest plans we were provided tonight, is showing a total of 57 parking spaces, correct?
59.
57.
I think it's,
I think it's 59. It's kind of hard to read,
it's
but I
a
think it's 59.
poor, you've got a very small, that's why I tried to blow it up.
That's right,
Mr.
63 to 59, sorry.
Yeah.
We'll go back to school. All right, so you got 59, which leaves, and 23's allocated to the martial arts.
Not back to school, it's bright, it's stronger glasses, because I had the same problem, Mr. Bailey.
I know, I got a lot of issues going. So that leaves us with 36 parking spots for the remainder of the site, correct?
Correct.
So with the 36, of the 36, those are to be shared between the retail and the restaurant, is that
Correct.
correct? And is that correct, Aaron?
Yes,
We're left with 36, And based on the chart, you know, there's like roughly 17 for the retail and 3 for the restaurant?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So that actually leaves us with excess space, I guess is what I'll call it, or a shared space between the restaurant and the retail. Is that,
Yeah, the
Correct.
entire commercial property. Yeah.
so based on the table and the requirements, the site does meet currently, right now, per the special permit and the variance, the required parking that's permitted.
That's correct.
Right.
And just to reiterate too, that the 22.5 parking spaces, which gets rounded up to 23,
Oh.
is based on the evidence that was provided that 4,500 square feet of the 10,000 square foot martial arts building.
So that
is the
means if
area
anything
used.
changed in the future for the use of that one building, the same petitioner, or if somebody else purchased, whatever, they would have to come before us if they wanted to change the use of that building, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yep, okay. And Mr., the petitioner, you're also saying that you have an additional 20 spots. Now, the additional 20 spots, that's not going to be controlled over whether it's the recreation or the retail or anything. Those available, if that whole lot is filled up of the 59 spaces.
Correct. That's for those occasions, which I think we've said.
Which you anticipate would be because of tournaments,
Money's changed
whatever else.
belt colors and
Okay.
things like that.
But it is possible that if
There
the
never
8
is.
stores are open and everything's moving, you could potentially occupy that whole parking area, and you're still providing another 20.
Correct.
Which is
Correct.
like saying you're providing,
Right.
I want to say 79, but I know that's not what we're
Well,
really
no,
saying.
right.
Yeah, it should be for almost, for those occasional tournaments that come along. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rick, question?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have no questions. They were answered through Mr. Bailey. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey?
Yes, to you, Mr. Vice Chair. Okay, I think this is much more clear now, Mr. Alades. Thanks to you for shedding a lot of light on the situation.
It wasn't easy, and I understand why there was a lot of confusion.
The former representation, yeah, you did quite well, thank you. But I would like a little more information now on these 20 additional parking spaces. Do you have anything in writing? How long is the lease? Can I get a little more information on that, please?
Well, it's at, the agreement is at the back of the book.
Okay.
There's no limitation as to time or anything. What the gentleman has agreed is that in those instances in which sufficient parking is not available, 20 cars will be allowed to park at his location.
Okay, Joe Palmer, okay, all right. And that's directly across the street, the gas station, right? So,
Right.
yes, that helps, okay. Okay, that certainly helps with the situation here. Again, this isn't long-term by any means. I mean, he could sell the property and the deal could be null and void, let us not forget. But it certainly helps the property. And I mean, I think 99% of the time you're going to be fine. But in the tournaments, Saturday morning tournaments, is when we're going to have difficulty. But so that's good news. So I'm willing to support it in that regard. But now I see your client also pledges to exercise some good judgment in those remaining 2 vacancies in the strip mall, because they are a concern of mine.
Right.
I mean, we are cutting it kind of close. There is room for extra here, but I just would like to see, please do your best and, exercising some good judgment where, it's the business is type where it's not so much a restaurant or but minimal in and out, so to speak, would be greatly appreciated for the sake of the neighborhood. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, I think it's much clearer to all the board members here, and they do have additional parking off-site for the time being anyway, and I'd be willing to delete, that's what your intention is, Mr. Alades, to delete the condition, which is number 6,
Correct.
about limiting to 8 seats to the restaurant,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, I have nothing more to add, Mr. Vice Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Also, thank Mr. Bailey for clarifying in terms of asking Mr. Elias in terms of the parking spaces. you're here before is more or less, could we treat this as a 6-month review because it's up for 6 months already for review on this petition? Since February 22nd of 2010, that's when the.
Yeah, it's
Right.
at this point, it's almost
Right.
6 months.
Right, it's much clearer doing that way, and you hear more or less asking us to, more or less a motion to remove or delete condition number 6? Is that fair to say, Council?
I'm not sure, are you saying that to come back in another 6
No,
months?
no, I'm saying this is, we
I-
asked you in February 22nd, 2010.
Right.
To come back for a review, 6-month review.
Right.
And now is October, so more or less, we could treat this as a 6-month review.
Correct.
And that you here more or less ask us or request us to remove condition that we set for you at the time, I believe, condition
Correct,
number
it's
6.
part of that
Right.
original action. It's not anything that requires new publication,
Right,
anything like that.
right, because this way is cleaner, this way does not require an advertisement on
Correct.
this. The other things that you request as well is for us to confirm that this is I believe that you indicated that only this
42.
place need only 42 spaces.
Correct.
Parking spaces. All right, I think with regard to request or motion to remove condition number 6, I think, it seemed like everyone here is supporting it. But before I turn to the board for vote, let me ask the audience if anyone here wish to speak in support of this petition, in support of this. Mark?
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the ZBA, ladies and gentlemen, for the record, my name is Mark Goldman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass. Wish to be recorded in favor of this petition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to support, to speak in support of this petition? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Is there anyone here wish to speak in opposition of this petition? In opposition of this petition? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Board, do you have any questions, Mr. Bailey, sir?
Yeah, so what about the restaurant now, about the number of seats?
If we remove the number of seats, or because we say that the maximum 8 seats in the condition that's set in February 22nd, number 6, and that's where Attorney Elias come in here and said, remove that, I need more spaces, more seating arrangement for the restaurant, and that. Is that correct, Attorney Elias?
I'm asking, just as Aaron has pointed out, that the chart now shows, based on what we have in the variance and the special permit, that in fact 42 was the number that was as of the February 22nd vote, and still today, what is required for the site.
Right, no, I'm talking about the restaurant itself, the issue about the 8
Oh,
seats.
the restaurant
for-
itself is a separate condition, and that condition was based on, if you recall, we have what I refer to as a god-awful section in the zoning code that requires every restaurant to have 1 parking space for every 50 square feet of premises. I think if you will recall, when I was here on the Burger King matter, I did my own self-survey and hit 15 restaurants in town. There isn't anyone, there isn't a single one, McDonald's, any of the other places that come close to meeting that. So the good part of it is that our zoning code provides the section which says that if the board finds that that's an onerous burden put on a restaurant, it can reduce it. It specifically says from 1 for every 50 spaces, from 1 to every 250 square spaces, which is what the parking requirement is. As to the number of tables and chairs, that was sort of a separate item, and as I said, it was not a representation I made. It was not, I only heard the person saying it was going to be fast food, quick pick, et cetera, and that they only needed 8 seats. And I remember Mr. Belanger correctly was trying to accommodate the situation to make sure, as he said tonight, that the restaurants don't get out of hand and that they don't spoil the whole thing. And I think it was based on his motion, if I'm not mistaken, that if the representation was made, that it would be, that they would only require 8 seats, that it be made a condition. And that's the unfortunate thing that happened that night. No fault of his, based on the representation that was made. I don't know if I'm answering your question or not. To my knowledge, well, let me add one other thing.
I haven't heard where it's changing to, so that's what I'm
Let
like.
me add one other word before, one other sentence before.
Yep.
I'm not aware of any other restaurant in the city of Lowell that has a limitation as to number of seats.
So what's the plan? How many seats are gonna be in there now?
Oh, you know what? I don't even know. Have they told you how many seats they'd like to put in there? This is Master An, who is the owner. Come here and identify yourself first, please.
Excuse me, my name is Naaman. Actually, I own over the U Plaza. And I tried the lease in the first time. What I thinking was we have all occupied. So might be okay, one restaurant, make it full service, or take out a lead one, but when I tried the agreement with her, the owner who have a restaurant right now, as possibility more less seat, they can then, more take out styles. But, just in case they need always be extra table and seat as well. So I understand they now 8 table, so each table is 4 seat, I believe each table is 4 seat. So 32 seat actually. That's why I make and the first time.
Let me clarify that. We're not asking for that designation. And I don't think it's fair, again, to ask you to make that designation, because there are so many other factors that go into how many seats are taken. But most importantly, it's almost self-limiting, Mr. Bailey, I would say, because if I'm driving in and I want to get a sandwich or something to eat, and I'm seeing that the place is filled and there's no parking spaces and ever, then I'm out of there. I'm going somewhere else.
Right. Well, I know at the last couple of meetings, we've had a lot of discussion around the number of seats, whether that represents 2 tables or it's 4 tables with 2. I mean, so Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes, sir.
Are we still entertaining the issue around the number of seats? Was that part of the conditions or not a condition?
That was condition set in February 22nd. However, I believe the presentations that Attorney Elias made that would not be fair to the restaurant owner to have 2 table with 4 seat each table. So he wanted to see if there's a possibility of removing that condition, plus the fact that if we were to confirm that the petitioner only need 42 space, then that would address.
Yeah, and that, if you go by the parking chart, not to beat this again, but the parking chart says, they would need like 3 spaces.
Right.
Well, if the owner has 1, and then you got 2 tables, I don't know, there's 3, but I don't know how fair that is or how representation that is with the parking, but I just want to make sure we're clear on, because the last couple of meetings on this facility, it's gone back and forth.
True.
And frankly, I get very confused over what we're even voting on. So what exactly, are there any conditions around the number of seats in the restaurant?
I'm asking that there be none. As I said, in fairness to these people, no other restaurant in the city has that condition, but has any such condition. I do want to point out one other very important thing that maybe will help to solve the issue for you, Mr. Bailey, which is the reduction that I spoke about previously, about reducing the number of spaces from 1 for every 50 to 1 to every 250, is by special permit vote of this board. This board, whenever they grant a special permit, has the power to revoke, modify, or change that in any way that they feel appropriate. So if the day came, this is what I would say, if the day came when for some reason there were complaints or problems resulting from the fact that the restaurant was overcrowded or had too many people in there, and that was brought to the code enforcement office or to you folks, then you would have the power to change that. But I just think,
I can't envision a lot of tables going into that square footage that's in that restaurant.
I do concur with you on that. I
let's
think
be
it's going to be
fair. I don't-
self-control on that by the
Yeah.
owners. So-
Okay,
I think there's just so much space that they
Right.
can occupy, so.
Right.
yeah, I understand Mr. Bailey's, what he's trying to accomplish here now. Aaron, the remaining floor space now that's in the restaurant, will there be a maximum capacity seating, or who issues that, or what's going on there, may I?
Yes, the building code, the Massachusetts building code that the building department enforces has a seating capacity maximum set, and it's, from my understanding, based on square footage. So I don't know it off the top of my head, but there
Okay.
is something in the building code that sets a maximum capacity.
Okay, so what happens is the building department go, if we do determine, this board does see a clear to delete the condition, and then in turn, the building department will go in there, take measurements, and give them a number? Is that what's going to play out here?
Yeah, they could go in there. I don't know if they're gonna measure it so much, but in the plan, they have a floor plan that shows what the square footage of the space is. So based on that, they could determine how many seats could, at the utmost, fit in.
Right, at the
in that
utmost, that's what we're
restaurant.
looking for. We don't want 8 to go to 50, you know, we want some control in there. We don't want to handcuff the small business at the same time, we want to help them, but we don't want it to be, you know,
Yeah, there's a control in the building code, and it has to do with, safety, public health, and make sure that place isn't overcrowded.
all right, well, that's suffice to me. I don't know how the other board members feel, but okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, what's the wish of the board? I believe, Aaron, are we voting on to confirm that the petitioner only need 42 spaces with the use right at this point, right?
Yeah. One of the, just to help the building department to enforce the parking requirement based on the variance and special permit that was issued,
Right.
it would be very helpful for the board to provide a confirmatory vote that the variance that was granted previously was based on 4,500 square foot usable space for the martial arts studio building and a special permit for the restaurant space. That way we can determine based on the tenant mix, even if the tenant mix does change for the other spaces, we can determine what the parking requirement is based on that.
Right. And also the other request, is that correct, from the Attorney Elias, that we remove or delete condition number 6?
correct.
All right. Mr. Clerk, sir.
Okay, I guess we'll do these one at a time. I'll make a motion to delete condition number 6.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Aaron, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Bailey?
Approve.
Mr. Blanchard?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Mr. Noon?
Approve. Next, Corey, is a motion.
Okay, so Aaron, just to make the language here correct, we're looking, according to the variance and special permit, we're reducing the amount of square footage from 10,000
To 45.
in the martial arts studio only, from 10,000 to 4,500.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. I'll make a motion to confirm that the variance and special permit issued, that there is a reduction in the amount of usage in the martial arts studio only from 10,000 square feet to 4,500 square feet.
So
Do we hear a
before,
second?
so before I second
Yes, sir.
it, do we have to entertain the additional 20 spots at all? Does that fall into, how are we going to handle the additional 20 spots?
If I may, as part of the administrative review, I think the board could vote that the 20 extra spaces, if you so choose, or felt that covered condition, I think it was condition number 3, that required off-site parking.
Okay, we don't
For
need that
special
as a
events.
separate condition tied around Okay.
No, because it's a condition that's existing in the
Yep,
original book.
Okay. So I'll second the motion.
Aaron, call the roll, please.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Mr. Noon?
Approve.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve.
Council already been approved with both requests. If you could come and sign the paperwork.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, the next matter on the agenda is ZB 2010-000037. This is a petition for a variance. The applicant is Stephen J. DeRosa. The address is 142 First Street to convert an existing single-family into a two-family dwelling without meeting the lot area requirements with curb cuts that exceed the maximum length for the driveway pursuant to Section 12.2 and Section 6.1.10 of the zoning code. Would somebody for 142 First Street please address the board? Hey, and nobody's here. Aaron, I did have a question. I thought that we had I may be wrong, but I thought that we had continued that for 2 meetings?
There was discussion about the timeframe on the continuance, but if I recall correctly, the petitioner felt they could get it done in one meeting period, so.
That's what I recollect.
Okay, so we did talk about it, but they agreed to tonight, okay.
I think it was actually their urging that pushed it to this meeting rather than the next.
Okay, so have you had any contact with them?
And not since the day after the meeting when I sent along the city engineer's comments. I haven't heard since.
Okay, I'll call it again. Anybody here from 142 First Street? Okay, what's the wish of the board?
Well, Mr. Chairman, there are abutters here in the neighborhood. I want to keep them informed as well. I mean, if they don't show up tonight, how do we continue it and get in contact with the petitioner so the neighborhood knows? That's my concern. I don't know how we can go about that.
Procedurally, Aaron, do we take no action, or do we?
Well, you could continue it again by taking no action. There's really
End up being an approval.
Exactly. You'd have to worry about the constructive approval. So you could continue it to the next meeting and make sure that all the abutters are notified and make sure that the petitioner shows up that time or deny it.
Okay, maybe, is anybody here to speak regarding 142 First Street? If you could raise your hand. Either way.
My name is Mike Donahue, 442 East Merrimack Street in Lowell, and I'm the abutter at 140 First Street. I have concerns about this property since the previous owner it got foreclosed on, it got turned over. The building department put a lot of stipulations on this property, and the current owners have done a good job re-roofing it, re-siding it, and improving the appearance of the building. But they haven't addressed any of the building inspector's wants from the previous owner, which I don't understand really how they got an occupancy permit. One of the biggest ones my concern is about is they don't have a second means of egress. Yes, they have 3 doorways, but 2 of the doorways lead to a back and a side yard. The side yard is blocked off by now a fence in the alley, which before the stairway was coming down the alley, so that didn't serve as a second means of egress. The side door goes into a side yard. There's no way to get out of the side yard unless they cut across my property, which they currently do. So I've put up a fence there, I've put up some bushes, but they still leave the side door, cut through the bushes, down my front walk and down my front stairs. They were told to put different size blocks for the parking area. They restacked them, but they never changed them to what Mr. St. Hilaire required them to do. The parking, they're still using the sidewalk as their parking spots with their cars on the sidewalk. That street's tight in the winter. The snowbanks are huge. You know, my tenants have 2 parking spots, the neighbors, they have a driveway with a garage and plenty of parking spots. I just have, like I said, other concerns, you know, about how they've ignored other, you know, requests from the city of Lowell to, you know, fix this property. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else here wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition to 142 First Street? Anybody here wishing to speak in favor? In favor of 142 First Street? Okay, well, that, the public hearing is closed as far as that goes, and I think what we should do is just take a vote on it, because they're not here, there's an abutter here, and it is pretty clear that they were on for tonight, so. Any thoughts, Bill?
I didn't catch the end of that. You said, did you think they were coming tonight, or?
No, I mean, I'm surprised they're not here, but when I asked Aaron and he reminded me, I do remember now that it was on their urging that it be tonight. I remember I offered to give them a few meetings, and they thought that it was fine to be here tonight, so. And that's, yeah, and our notes indicate that as well. So, you know, my thought is either they've abandoned it and didn't call the planning department to let us know, and assume that we're just gonna take the vote, or there's some misunderstanding, so I think we take the vote, and if there is a misunderstanding, is it something that can be changed?
If the vote is to deny, the petitioner would have to, if they wanted to go forward, they would have to submit a repetitive petition to move forward any sooner than 2 years. A denial can't be brought back before the board for a period of 2 years, unless there's a substantial material change to the project. So if it's denied, that would be the case that either wait 2 years or provide something that's completely.
In my opinion, that would not be the best thing to do, because, you know, I want to see that building up to code and occupied. And by denying that, the owner may very well abandon the whole project, and it could worsen the situation there. So I'd like to see a continuance, you know, to notify, we're going to give one more chance. You need to be here on, say, November 8th, which is our next scheduled meeting, or there's possibility of it being denied. So I don't want to see that. I'd rather, you know, like I said, my goal here is to get that building fixed up, so Mr. Donahue has no more problems with them going onto his property, and for the sake of the neighborhood as well. So that would, I'm only one vote, but that's how I feel. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if we were to allow or continue so that, you know, give the petitioner an opportunity to come on November 8th, we should put it on the petitioner to notify all the abutter. You know, give them a call and said, it's your job now, we give you a shot at, you know, come before us on November 8th, tell all the abutter, you know, and with certified letter indicated that you did so. Not just, hey, come back before the board and said, hey, I contact all the abutter, but there's no verification, no certification. I want that. I mean, if that's the case, because otherwise, you know, it'd be fair to the abutter who's here, who has concern, direct abutter, you know, and, you know.
I just don't know if legally we can do that. That may be beyond the scope of our authority to order them to renotice everybody, and I don't think we'd give them enough time until November 8th, right? It'd be tight.
The board could condition a continuance on renotification. That's, you could do that in this case. As to timing, it wouldn't meet Chapter 48, but you've already provided the notice in the initial, with the initial submission. So this is just another way of supplementing that and making sure that people are aware of that.
Would there be time to do it for the November 8th meeting, or?
Give people, you know, a week's notice.
It's just a thought.
Well,
Yeah, no, it's, if we can do it, it's a good idea. It's just already the 25th, you know, so they'd have to basically do it tomorrow or the next day.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's something I could live with.
Okay. I think November 8th would be satisfactory to myself, too, Mr. Chairman.
Gary, anything? Go, Bill?
I'm all set if we're going to continue it November 8th. I think that's what we should do.
Gary, any thoughts?
Just through you, Mr. Chairman, I just, for my own recollection, the November 8th date pops back into my mind as that might have been the understanding, that that was our next meeting. However, that being said, they're not here, and the abutter is here, who obviously was notified. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Aaron, so we will have to, the publications will have to be made immediately to satisfy that November 8th date. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, that would be, I mean, that's, Corey had suggested that, and Vesna as a condition
Right.
to the continuance, which, that's something I'd support, so.
Well, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Need a motion?
So it looks like the board sees it clear to continue this, but they do want the abutters to be re-notified. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. I'll make a motion to continue
Until what date?
November the 8th, 2010, with the following condition, that the petitioner notify all the abutters.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Gary?
Continue with re-notification to the abutters until November 8th.
Mr. Perrin?
Continue with re-notification to the abutters to November 8th.
Mr. Noon?
Continue with re-notification to the butter.
Mr. Bailey?
Please call me. I can't see and I can't hear now either. Yeah, continue with re-notification to abutters.
Okay, that matter's been unanimously continued, and the applicant is required to re-notify all the neighbors until November 8th. There'll be a notification to you to that effect. If they're not notified by that night, they have to bring proof of notification or proof of re-notification, and then we'll hear the petition that night and go from there. Okay, the next petition is ZB 2010, number 43. Special permit, telecommunications, Clear Wireless LLC, 746 Bridge Street, to install 3-panel antennas, 2 backhaul dishes inside the existing steeple, which will be partially replaced and replicated pursuant to Section 7.6 of the zoning code. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Andrew Thompson, here on behalf of Clear Wireless LLC, Centerline Communications, 960 Turnpike Street, Canton, Massachusetts. Mr. Chairman, before we proceed, if I may approach, I have a more detailed set of plans to supplement the application.
Sure. So what would you like to tell us about the petition?
So essentially what Clearwire is proposing to do is replace a portion of the existing steeple at the Central United Methodist Church on Bridge Street. And what they're proposing to do is replace a portion of that existing steeple with RF radio frequency engineer friendly material, which will allow the antennas to transmit the signal through the steeple. As you can see, I believe page A1 of the plans that were just submitted to the board, which is actually the 4th page, will show you an elevation view of how the antennas will be installed directly within the steeple, so they will not be visible from the exterior of the steeple. One equipment cabinet will also be installed at the ground level inside of the existing church. And if I may direct the board to the application materials that were submitted under Exhibit 5, the radio frequency engineer maps. These maps will show Clearwire's plan, network plan essentially for this area of Lowell, and where they're proposing sites, whether the sites are permitted or in one stage of the permitting or another. This is MA-BOS 7530. Which resides in the center of the coverage map, is the proposed location of the petition before the board. And the second page under that tab will show the propagation of the coverage from that site into this area of Lowell, filling a significant gap in Clearwire's existing coverage in the city of Lowell. And lastly, just to keep it as brief as possible, I do believe that we submitted some photo simulations with the application package as well. And essentially, it's going to be a like-for-like replacement of the steeple. We'll be using specialized material that is designed to match the existing slate roof, as well as the existing woodwork exterior of that existing steeple. So from the ground, there would essentially be no visible change to the church itself. And with that, I know the board is somewhat familiar with the applicant, and I suppose this type of installation, I'd be more than happy to answer any site-specific questions.
Okay, and you're not going any higher than the steeple is currently, correct?
Absolutely not. It's actually going to be built, it's the same exact dimensions.
Mr. Chairman, next question. So I know this gentleman was here at our last meeting. I know he's trying to hide behind the podium, but I'd asked the question about, you know, the current coverage map for the whole city now that Clear Wireless has proposed. Mm-hmm. And is this the last site I'm going to see, or are there still more to come? And I never seem to get a direct answer, so
Sure.
can you
Well, I think-
update me tonight, please?
Sure. I think to put it into context, T-Mobile, for instance, has been operating since the mid-'90s, and I know that they're still coming before the board to build new sites. And with respect to just essentially the wireless industry in general, what you see is as you start to move to 2G, 3G, 4G, data applications where you're emailing on your BlackBerries, et cetera, these sites get maxed out, essentially. And so they need to bring in more capacity sites. And so that's why you see the likes of T-Mobile, these companies that have been around for a very long time, continuing to build these sites. So I don't think I certainly cannot represent that this is the last site that the board will see. I can represent that I think the backbone of Clearwire's network is either under construction or has been built in the city of Lowell. So I do believe that you will see the number of applications slow down significantly in the coming, I would say, years, essentially. You know, that being said, there are always improvements that the carriers are looking to make for their networks. And if you do look at the coverage map that was submitted, for instance, in the southeast corner of the coverage map, you'll see MA-BOS 7190.
Yep.
So this is actually the Duck Island wastewater treatment facility. And we were able to work with the city to have an RFP released for a new tower to be built at that location. The RFP was released, and my understanding was that it was awarded last week, and the city is currently in negotiations with a company named US Wireless to construct that tower. So Clearwire has a vested interest in that tower. They would certainly be back before the board for that site. But again, and sorry for the long-winded response,
Yep.
I do anticipate the applications to slow, but I certainly cannot represent that they're done.
Yep. So I received one of these in the mail. So does that mean you're getting close to,
The network officially launched.
okay.
So if you haven't heard them, I would expect that you would. The nature of my job, I spend a lot of time in the car, and Sports Hub 98.5, Sprint 4G, and Clear. Clear is the brand they sell under. I mean, I'm hearing the advertisements all the time. So the network has launched.
Yep. And can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yep.
that's what you think you want.
You have any members of the church here?
Yes, we do.
Would they like to speak about the proposal or not?
I believe they would.
Okay, thank you. Is that all right, Steve?
Yeah, why don't I, to make it easy, why don't I just say, anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this petition, speak now?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Ted Krass. I'm the pastor at Centralville United Methodist, and I'm joined with Dan Gonzalez, who's the chair of our Staff Parish Relations Committee, and two lay members, Henry Sykes and Ellen Gonzalez. We're the representation of the church tonight. There are many others. It's been through our district process, building process. It's been through all parts of our church council, and we're in complete support of the project. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, that's important to me, Mr. Chairman, because I think we've had either one or two other churches that have come before us, and I think if the people attend the church are in support of it and are here to recommend it. That means a lot to me, so I appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you,
Yep.
Mr. Bailey.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Anybody else wish to speak in favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody here wish to speak in opposition to this petition? In opposition? And hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. So open up to the board for consideration. Anything? Bill, anything?
So
further?
this will be the first time that you've actually dismantled the current steeple and put up a brand-new one. Is that correct, with all the other projects?
Personally, the sites that I worked on in the city for Clearwire, I think they were only partial replacements of the steeple.
Right.
But it's not a very substantial steeple in size, which is why it has to be a full replacement, just for the antennas to be able to transmit properly.
Right.
A partial replacement would have blocked the signal.
And as, I know Mr. Belanger asked about the height, but is it going to be the exact same look that's currently at the church right now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The plan is to replicate it exactly as it's seen. And I do have additional photos of a church that's actually in Drake, just a few miles up the road, just a couple sample photos, if the board would like to see.
Sure.
This. Actually much larger scale.
Okay, thank you.
This particular photo
Oh, yeah. I know what this
from
is.
the base of the woodwork all the way up to the top of the steeple. So as you can see, it's much more substantial in size than the proposal before you is
Right.
100% fiberglass. So that's the similar type of work that we're proposing.
Okay. And you, I guess the last thing would be, you did mention the equipment is going to be located in the interior of the church, correct?
Correct. There's one equipment cabinet, and that's located at the ground level of the church.
Yep.
The only equipment that would be on the exterior of the church is there will be one cable tray running down the back side of the building. But basically, the way the building is set up, the location was chosen is such that it's a very narrow alley. So the only possible way that you can see the cable tray is if you were actually standing in the alley looking directly down. So driving along Bridge Street, 100% out of view.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank
Okay,
you.
Gary, anything?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as it relates to that networking system in the basement, is there an agreement with the church for maintenance of that? As far as, is it in a plan, is it in writing? Is there
Absolutely.
a schedule for that?
There's a lease agreement with the church. The lease agreement requires Clearwire to maintain all of their equipment, and more specifically, in general, these wireless sites are serviced about once a month, sometimes twice a month, sometimes they'll miss a month, and it's just basic routine maintenance, a technician coming to the site, making sure everything's in proper working order. And again, they're making a very sizable investment in each one of these sites, so it's also in the best interest of the carrier to keep
So
the
you do have a document for preventative maintenance and a constant
absolutely.
maintenance plan, and the petitioners at the church are all in favor of that? Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Gary. Vezner, anything?
No, sir, thank you.
And Corey?
Yes, to you, Mr. Chairman. I do support the petition, and I will give you my reasons that, you know, the project, it's an old church there, and they've done a very great job throughout the years maintaining it, and I wouldn't want to see anything aesthetically unpleasing, so to speak. It's going to be concealed. It's existing, well, I mean, replace the existing, it's close enough, but just, you know, make it known not to exceed the height, what's already there, the height, that'd be great. And underneath, all the equipment is going to be concealed inside the building too as well. And, okay, with all that being said, I do support the petition. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Corey. So I need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please, Aaron?
Mr. Noon?
Approve.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Gary?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Okay, sir, you've been unanimously approved for the vote. If you could just come up here and sign these plans in this package and hand them over to Aaron, appreciate it, and good luck. Just sign and date, today's the 25th. Okay, our final petition of the evening, first order of new business, is ZB 2010, number 49, request for a variance. The applicant is Edward and Mary Lou McGuire, 20 Easy Street, to demolish a portion of an existing deck and to extend the residence into its footprint without the proper side yard setback pursuant to section 5.1 of the zoning. Mr. McGuire, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your project?
Well, basically, we're gonna take part of the existing deck off and replace it, extend the kitchen out onto that particular area without the proper footage, proper side setback
Okay,
pursuant to section 5.1 of the zoning code. Pleasure.
so where it's the side yard, where it's the zoning code is a 10 feet, sum of 25, you have, your proposal is to get a variance for relief because you have 6.33 feet, the sum of 23.67. That's what I'm looking at according to your, the plan that you've submitted.
Right.
And you're gonna do it to put a kitchen in, you said, a 10 by 14 kitchen?
No, what we're gonna do is actually extend that wall out with a roof over it.
Oh, okay,
Make the kitchen actually a little wider than it is, because it's kind of minimal at present. I don't think there's been one house on the street that hasn't had restructured in the kitchen.
right. It's a proposed kitchen addition.
So, Mr. Chairman, we're looking for slightly over 3 feet of relief here? Is that what I comprehend?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's, and, you know, going by I went by the property, and it seems to me like the shape of your lot does lend itself to the requirements of a variance because of the topography of your land, so I think that you do meet the requirements for a variance, sir. So when is the work scheduled to start if you were approved?
It hasn't, I'm just trying to get a variance to see if it'd be approved to
Oh,
begin with,
okay.
rather than getting involved in it
Right, and then doing it.
extensively presently.
Okay, well, I went by the property, and I think that it's not gonna have any negative impact at all on the surrounding area, and I think you're not asking for a whole lot of relief, and so far I don't see anybody here in opposition to it, so I think it's something I'd support. That's just my feeling.
If anything, the neighbor's water runs on my land.
Oh, okay. That's maybe why they're not here. Bill, anything?
Yeah, I guess first comment I'd have is, and I think maybe planning mentioned it, is there a set of plans that were provided to show the build-out?
As far as an elevation of the building or the footprint?
Well, generally, we ask for some type of, drawing, or
Right.
all we got was the lot, right?
Yeah, all we have is the, basically the plot
We didn't
plan.
get, we didn't get any, drawings, the general requirements that we have, Mr. Chairman, so I thought I'd ask the petitioner
Well, he's
that.
actually gonna apply for the variance, and then if I got the variance, I would submit, before I did anything, a full set of plans and everything else for the structure in itself.
Well, generally,
This is all new to me, to tell you the truth.
oh, sure, yeah, you're not the first one, believe me. But generally, we like to see a set of plans that at least shows if where you're gonna build out and exactly somewhat what you're putting in there, just so we have a vision of what you're trying to do. Have you had a contractor or anybody like that come in and take a look yet, or?
Yes, I'm talking, Tom Gallagher, I'm not sure if you know him, he's a general contractor on Beacon
Yeah.
Street in Lowell.
But he didn't put any type of preliminary plans together for you at this point?
No, not as yet.
Yeah.
He wanted me to check to see if I get a variance first, before we figured out what size structure we were gonna
Right.
be able to
Are
accomplish.
you planning on, are you only working on the side of the house? Is that,
Just off of the kitchen, you come up the back
Yeah.
porch, and that will be the back
Right.
door to the kitchen.
right, because you have like a deck area out in back where your pool is, correct?
Yes.
You're not going to be upsetting that at all? Are you leaving that
No,
intact?
No, we'll be going from that room, it'll be a slider out onto that back deck, and that structure will be the same. The only
Okay.
thing basically, all I'm gonna do is take a box and put it on top of the
Yep,
existing deck, and then it'll be, well, formally.
yep. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe in the past, we can approve the petition, but with the condition that a set of plans would be provided for the building permit. Am I correct in
Yeah.
stating it like that, Aaron?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
So that could be a condition, but,
Yep.
yeah, it seems like it's it seems like it's not gonna have really any real difference. It'd probably look better with the structure there.
Sure.
But, yeah, we do need to see, like Mr. Bailey said, sir, we do need to see a plan usually before we approve it, but in this case, it's such a small addition. What we have done in the past is we'll approve it conditioned upon you providing us a plan before you start construction or pull your CO. Okay? So, I agree with Bill. I think we need to see it, but I think we can approve it tonight if people want to and submit it after. So, Gary, any thoughts on this?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
And Vesna?
Mr. McGuire, how long you been residing in that address?
34 years?
I'm sure you probably have more than 34 years to go, right, in that place?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it's beautiful though, I
Someone
like
keeps
it.
stealing the street sign.
I do concur with the chairman though, that I don't see a detriment to the neighborhood. In fact, there's, you meet the variant requirement because they shaped the lot, and I'd be willing to support it, and of course, along with Mr. Bailey, that with conditions that you provide to the planning, the inspection office in terms of what the building, the extension is going to be look like.
True.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, and Corey, anything?
Yeah, to you, Mr. Chairman, I'm in agreement with my colleagues. We know the addition of the kitchen is going to be 10 by 14, that much we do know, but now we just need to know what it's going to look like. And we want to make sure it's just going to match the home and match the neighborhood. That's all we're looking to accomplish here. So, with that being said, I'll make a motion to approve with the following condition, that the petitioner submit plans of what and drawings of the final product, so to speak.
Second motion.
Okay, and before we take that vote, it's been
Sorry.
seconded, but before we take that vote, I just want to, just an oversight on my part, but is anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? And hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody here wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? And hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. There's nobody here, and that's why we kind of forgot to do that, but, so we had a motion, why don't you just re-motion so we can,
Make a motion to approve with the following condition, that the petitioner submit plans for this board's approval, drawing plans of what the home is going to look like.
Second motion.
and roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Gary?
Approve with conditions?
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Okay, sir, you've been unanimously approved with the condition that you provide the building department and the planning department with a sketch or a plan from your builder as to what the finished product's gonna look like.
Excuse me, Mr. Gary? We have one more
Mr. Noon's also approved.
What was that?
Vote. Mr. Noon, we missed one vote.
He hasn't
Sorry.
called me, that's why. He hasn't
Oh,
called.
sorry.
We've got it now, we're good.
Okay, so you'll just be required to do those sketches, provide those sketches to the planning department prior to doing any construction. And you have to submit it to the planning department so we can take a look at it before that.
Okay.
Okay, so you might want to tell Mr. Gallagher or whoever you end up hiring if he can get on that right away and submit those. That way you won't have any delay if you're trying to get in there before the frost.
Okay.
All right, sir? I just need you to sign this and date it, please.
Okay.
Thank you and good luck. Okay, Mr. Clerk, do we have any other business tonight?
No other business, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.